Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom.
We're not afraid.
Here we go, guys and girls. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. Yes, I'm back. Last Sunday, probably you heard a replay, a real broadcast. Guess what? I was at a gun show, and I had a great time. I met some of yous, and it was pretty beautiful, I tell you. I love the experience of gun shows. You know, you can meet people, you can trade, you can pretty much mind your business. I like that. And we had a great fun. I will talk more about that during the second hour. Great deals. We brought the smoke grenades, the Freedom Rifle. As I said, mostly also was a human event, you know, to meet some of you that normally, I know you listen to me or you are my listeners, so Facebook friends. So that was really a great human contact. I enjoyed that. Now, today's topic, at least the first part of the first hour, is about freedom. You know my position on marijuana or any other herbs. I don't care if it's basil, sage, marijuana, whatever, hashish. I don't care. It's an herb, okay? And the bottom line, more important, it's your body. That's my position. You know, I don't smoke anything. At the same time, I always say I would really support with my life the right of people who wants to decide what they want to drink, what they want to eat, what they want to smoke. It's their damn business, especially where they can afford it, especially where they can do it in the safety of their own environment. Because the point is, if really we come to the point, the government can tell us, like a big daddy or big mommy, what you can eat, or what you can drink, or what you can smoke, you are just a freaking slave. Simple as that. So that's why I'm very passionate when it comes down to this, let's say, topic of legalization. And for me, it's not even about legalization, because a herb, a natural plant, should never be legal. It is already legal. Maybe we should decriminalize it. That's the way I look at that. So even I'm not a smoker, I'm not a user, and even I believe, though, there are some really good therapeutical purposes for marijuana. But beside that, I don't care if it was therapeutical or not. It's a freaking right of yourself to enjoy life the way you like it. You know, I like to drink wine, and guess what? We know a few years ago in this country it was prohibited, okay? That was the prohibition, didn't work there right. You know, this is the same mentality of the Taliban. They can tell you if you can smoke or drink or what you can do in your private life. So that's why I really say, guess what? We got to try to educate people about what's going on. And I believe we got the right guy here today. Even sometimes many other topics, we are not exactly on the same spectrum, political spectrum. But when it comes down to decriminalization, I would like to say, of the marijuana or legalization, I think we are on the same page. Mikel Weisser, are you there?
I am here. Thank you for having me on your show, Luca.
Thank you. I give you the floor. As I said, you know, I want you to make the case with logic, facts, and you're a very informed person about this topic, about the proposition that right now is going to be facing the people from Arizona to legalize, the marijuana. We already have medical marijuana, correct?
Yes, we do. As of 2010, the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act created a system where people with qualifying conditions can purchase cannabis and cannabis products in about 100 dispensaries across the state right now. That they're going to expand that to 130 here shortly.
What is the difference now? Because this was for medical condition. Now, what is the new step of Proposition 205?
The key idea behind it is that cannabis could be for anybody. You shouldn't just have to be sick to be allowed to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the 100,000 people who are in the medical card program represent like 10% of the actual smokers in the state. 43% of the population has tried it at least once. So all those people are currently held as criminals, felons by current law, We want to change that, get that industry under, out of the black market, out from under the table, make sure that it's operating fairly, consumers are getting good deals, and businesses are allowed to thrive and function.
Okay.
It is a tremendously entrepreneurial opportunity, just to say.
You know what, I tell you, on this one, of course, the general idea, I agree, because, I don't think nobody should be a criminal just because you own or smoke a plant. That's ridiculous, okay? And as I said, always with a condition, like alcohol, you like to probably, maybe, I don't know, smoke marijuana. I like to drink wine at night, okay? It relaxes me, make me feel better. It's my right. Like, it's your right to smoke whatever you want. And I don't care if it's marijuana or can be sage. Because, by the way, I'm glad that the government didn't find out yet. Sage can be is worse than marijuana. I give you a hallucinogenic experience. And I don't do that, but I use my sage to cook, okay? So think about if one day the government gets crazy, say, you know
Same
what?
with nutmeg, by the way.
Exactly. Nutmeg, even worse. So my point, you see how the slippery slope here that they have, they tell us what we can do to ourselves, and that's not the right way. If we are really free, we always should have the basic concept. We do not endanger others. We do not harm others. But when we meet that condition, we should be free to do whatever we want, especially in the privacy on our own homes. Right now, for example, if I'm in my own home, I don't smoke marijuana, but let's say I like to look at that little plant, I collect plants, and I want to grow one of these plants. Is it true that I may be raided and probably even have my home confiscated? Is it true? I mean, this is really to this point.
That is exactly true. The current laws are set up to facilitate what's called civil forfeiture, where the government can claim that any wealth that you have or any assets that you have are the result of illegal enterprises and seize that. In fact, there's billions of dollars seized every year from individual citizens, and that seizure takes place before there's even guilt or innocence proven in a trial. It's very difficult to get those things back. That's the extent of the prohibition that we face right now. It's part of the reason we have to fight against it.
And by the way, I saw a lot of forces against this one. They are, of course, the pharmaceutical lobbies. They're going to be the first one to pay, the damage. They're going to lose customers, okay? And then, of course, there is...
here in this state, the company Insys, INSYS, is the maker of fentanyl, which is the most powerful opioid drug on the pharmaceutical market. They recently donated $500,000. That's $500,000 to the No on Prop 205 campaign. And in their letter to their shareholders justifying the action, they said it was to protect their market.
Yes, because that's exactly the truth. The big pharma is the competition. And by the way, I'm not a doctor, guys. You can go wherever, you can do whatever you want. If you want to go to official drugs or whatever, you want to cure yourself with herbs. But the point is, you should have the right to cure the way you like it, okay? And that's the bottom line. Now, the way the system is set up, you have only one way, and it's their way, the mafia way, the big pharma way. And don't you dare to say, hey, maybe I think an herb can help me out better than you big pharmaceutical things. No, you have not that option. You will be raided, as you said, and probably you will be spent time in jail, and maybe your property will be confiscated without due process. So that's for me why it's so important, this topic. And by the way, I heard from different stories that Prop 205, it is not perfect. There's some little bit of flaws or whatever. What can you say about that? Something would you like to improve if you had a chance, or this is just a starting point?
Well, obviously it's just the starting point. That's a really good observation. If I had written the ideal piece of legislation and had it passed today, I'd still have another 10 years of fixing the problems that this bogus prohibition has caused over its 80-year reign. But to your question, Prop 205, I was one of the people who helped write Prop 205. I was political director of an organization called Safer Arizona, and as such, had tremendous input in this. We had a compromise, like all legislation ends up compromise. People say you don't want to see how legislation takes place because it's like mixing sausage. Probably uglier now that I've gone through the process. All that said, the big thing that we don't have in it that I have been working for was something called post-conviction relief, where anyone who had been convicted of cannabis crime would be able to have their record cleared after the laws had changed, because then you had been convicted of something that was no longer against the law.
Yeah.
I believe that we will be able to bring that forward at the state legislature. If Prop 205 should pass, there's going to be a tremendous appetite for kind of correcting some of the injustices Arizona has put on its public with this phony law.
I think, probably we agree. And as I said, guys, this is not about left or right. This is about the basic things for that every human being should at least understand. First of all, is your body. Okay, and I think when they see that, like a government try to tell you what you can do, like for example, what you can eat, like in New York, when Bloomberg said you cannot have salt in the restaurants, or the size of your sodas. Even I don't drink sodas, I don't care. You should be free to do whatever you want, of course, after when you be able to take care of yourself in case you got diabetes. But regardless, now the situation here, what I really notice, and I think we may agree, it is the big lobby of the private prison system. Because that's another way that really they're going to lose a lot of money there. What do you think?
I think that is true. We know, there's facts behind that. In California, the number one opposition to legalization in 2010 and again now in 2016 is the prison guard union protecting their jobs. While it's true that the majority of people who get arrested for cannabis charges don't end up in prison, tens of thousands go through our county jails all the time, and you don't even have to go to jail to have an incident with a cop ruin your day.
Yeah. No, I understand. It is true. Go ahead.
With that in mind, think of that guy, Keith Lamont Scott. He was not a black man shot by a white cop. He was shot by a fellow black man who was a police officer. They hadn't gone to look for Keith Lamont Scott. They were pursuing another known criminal. They were going to serve a warrant on a known criminal, but instead, the odor of marijuana drew the attention of the police officers, who decided it was worth ignoring their sworn duty to catch the known criminal to shoot this man who was smoking marijuana.
Oh my gosh.
That's the extent of the prohibition these days.
Oh, this is so sad. It's true. There are people that are being killed just because suspected to have a plant. And this is like almost for me, as I said before, there is no difference from the Taliban or the moral police, the religious police like in Iran.
Absolutely.
I mean, and as I said, I wish people that normally they consider themselves constitutionalists and, let's say small government, please, this is one of the most important, let's say, cornerstone of freedom. If you really believe in the Constitution, if you really believe in individual rights, like the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, all the other amendments, there is one piece of real estate that no much, I don't care if you're rich or poor or whatever, it's your body. And when you give it away, when you pretty much say, you government, you are my body, it's over. We are slaves. All the rest, it's make no sense to me. That's why I said, even, of course, I'm glad that, by the way, Michael, I don't like marijuana, because I would be in jail every other day. Seriously. I refuse the idea, and I'm speaking for myself, not for you, anybody else, that I should get a piece of paper, a license from the government to grow a plant. I refuse the idea that I should be, treated like a criminal just because in my home I want to enjoy just staring at the plant. Okay? That's for me like,
right.
It is insane. It is insane, but we got to educate people. I think that's what you're doing is great. And I say, please be open, everybody out there. I don't care which party you think you are, left, right, center. This is about a cornerstone of freedom. Now, one thing made me puke.
I'd like to address something that's key and not being discussed in our conversation. Absolutely, the individual freedom is central to the argument of Prop 205. A reduction of government governing a person's lifestyle. But more important for me is that this is an attack on the criminal underground. This law is designed to gut the black market. And we see that in Colorado, for example, the underground economy has been cut into by 60%.
Yeah, no, it makes
That's
sense.
a huge impact.
It makes sense. And I give you my theory, and of course, I'm just my opinion. I really believe that many politicians in Washington, especially, and of course, even in local governments, when they try to, let's say, criminalize a plant or a drug in general, okay, I really believe it's not just because it's for the kids. No, it is big money behind. As I said, this
Right.
like during the prohibition, who bonus, who benefits was the mafia behind the criminal enterprises. Okay, so the moment that
Yeah.
the little grape, I mean the little alcohol, the bottle of wine or whiskey, whatever, goes back to legal. You know what? It takes the value that's supposed to have. It doesn't get a skyrocket markup that normally in everything prohibited will have. So that's why I really believe there's a lot of corruption behind by politicians. They want to act like little saints because they want to take care of our morals. At the end of the day, I really believe they are paid off.
Where I grew up in the southern tip of Texas is a high traffic drug area.
Mm-hmm.
Not just marijuana, but the cocaine epidemic of the 80s and 90s passed through there in a big, furious way. And in the 1980s, while I was just a regular plumber working man, I got selected for a federal grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
And every month, we were indicting law enforcement officials for their complicity
Mm-hmm.
in the drug trafficking.
Yeah.
One month, we indicted the sheriff and 5 of his deputies for marijuana transportation.
Wow.
So you are so right when you point out the corruption within the supposed law enforcement.
Yeah.
But to me, the statistics show that we're changing an entire criminal element in our society. Right now, as I mentioned, there's about 100,000 people who have medical cards in the state of Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And about 30% of those people actually shop in the dispensaries.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, that income that generated $215 million. So that tells me that the underground economy is over $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they have no respect for law and order. They are after making the dollar, and I think it's time to put an end to that.
I agree. Listen, as I said, please, everybody out there, if we can lead the way in some important, I mean, Arizona is a state. State means created by people, humans, or corruptible. A lot of things needs to be fixed. We have some good stuff, but some other stuff really we need to work together, I believe. I don't care left or right. That would be the foundation of freedom, okay? And that's why I'm here.
I would like that to happen. You know, Arizona is currently rated the most corrupt state in the nation.
That's true, unfortunately. The party is a
It is
statistic.
also, just was recently rated, the state with the most irresponsible teenagers. I don't know how they compare these, but I think that 1 equals 2. I think that when you put up hypocrites and false piety as the examples to the youth, you're going to expect rebellion and struggle.
One thing else I want to say, talking about the teenagers, and that's really, I almost was throwing up. I was driving a couple of weeks ago in some part of Nao County, okay, a small town, and I'm not going to go there into religions, but unfortunately it is connected sometimes to pretty much their mindset, okay, because they do not smoke or they do not drink alcohol. They think that everybody else should follow the same path, and I think that's wrong. But that's the reality. I see these big signs, vote no on Prop 205, do it for the kids, keep our kids safe. What the hell has to do with kids? I mean, kids, for example, right now, we have alcohol, and they don't have access to alcohol unless their parents are irresponsible. But there are already laws that you cannot have access to alcohol if you are under 21. And why we should now feel this special guilt trip on the marijuana or any other herb or any other whatever recreational drug. And I think, the same concept to keep the kids safe. If you want to allow marijuana, you should also follow in the same very distorted logic. You should also outlaw alcohol. or you also should outlaw cigarettes. That, by the way, I'm not proposing that, but the point is insane. That's what they're now trying to reach out. Like don't get me wrong.
You know what? If we were going to take that approach, we could outlaw automobiles for teenagers, because it turns out that drivers from 16 to 21 are the people most likely to get into accidents, including fatalities. So maybe we should make that illegal by that kind of rationale.
Exactly.
It's worth noting that I work with NORML, which is the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. I was reviewing the national press releases over the past month, and I see that the Center for Disease Control reports that teens have are reporting a reduced access to marijuana in states that have legalization. A reduced access.
Wow.
Not increased.
Interesting.
And it makes sense, because drug dealers don't check your age. Drug dealers don't make sure your medical card is valid.
Yeah, I understand, and it's true. But for me, at this point, even before that's a good topic. I mean, good argument, by the way, or at least a good data. But the point is, we're supposed to be responsible for our own actions, and there are already laws, okay, that a child or a teenager under a certain age cannot have certain things. So we cannot just criminalize everybody else and make everybody else miserable just because. That's pure propaganda. That's pure, very low, let's say, kick in the balls. That is pathetic, in my opinion. But this is not just, by the way, when it comes down to the marijuana topic. I also, on the other side, when I hear the gun control crowd, and maybe we may disagree here, let's do it for the kids, I throw up there too. Okay, that's for me the point.
Yes. No, we're on the same page with that. I think that people who hide their propaganda behind children are suspect at best. Just the whole action of setting up your argument that way makes me question your values.
Another thing, talking about guns.
Let me talk a little bit about the specifics in the bill. I know that your audience is aware that it's essentially a yes or no decision on cannabis legalization, but this isn't the decision about cannabis legalization or about cannabis itself. It's about because cannabis is here. 500,000 Arizonans will have a hit today. So it's here. You can't fix that.
Yeah.
But this is a discussion is how we're going to have it operate in our state. Some of the specifics: people will be allowed to carry a 1 ounce of marijuana with them at any time. At their home, they can have more than that because they're allowed to grow 6 plants every season if they like, and they get to keep the harvest. They can also give that to their friends. They're not allowed to sell. But if you want to make money off of marijuana, there's a whole business opportunity that includes individual licenses for cultivators, manufacturers, testers, transporters. So we're going to take the existing vertical monopoly of the medical marijuana industry and open it up to the general public to see if they can participate. Regular people will have a chance to see if this is the kind of thing they want to get involved in. We're anticipating seriously over $1 billion in the industry as a whole, $135 million in tax revenue in the first year of implementation.
Michael,
that's just a gigantic amount.
Let me stop you 1 second. Probably on this one you think I'm kind of a radical, but I tell you exactly, guys, and that's great. Don't get me wrong. It's at least a step towards decriminalization, and I'm all with that. But for me, the idea, the government can tell me, now, by the way, you can have 6 plants, but if you have 8 plants, I will toss your ass in jail. I will give you a fine. I'm still laughing at that, okay? I know probably we need to go by step, okay? I'm not trying to be too
Yes,
greedy,
this is a long range social transition that's been people have been working on it since the early 1960s when medical research first was able to start debunking the myth of reefer madness, the central myth that it had no medicinal value. We've known since then that that lie was a lie, but it's taken a long time to get the truth spread to the public. That's why I was so happy to go on the show.
No, it's a start, but think about the idea. Like, the magazine. You can have 10 rounds magazine and you are a good person. If you have 11 rounds, you're going to be a felon. I mean, guys, it's a plant. It is a plant. In the back of my house, I have grapes, okay? And when I go my grapes, I harvest them, and I say, if I want, I make wine. And then I drink the wine. And guess what? If I get drunk and drive, I get punished. But I don't do that. I stay in my home and I enjoy my wine. Think about it's exactly the same concept, okay? But I tell you, I'm not going to run out the numbers, but people with the alcohol, we're not talking about something really people die and there is a real addiction. Let's look at numbers with alcoholism. How many people die every year? You have any number out there, Michael? You're pretty good at numbers. How many people die with alcohol abuse during in America?
1,800 people, 21 or under, die of drinking too much alcohol last year.
Wow. And I never heard anybody dead with marijuana, right?
No. Part of the reason that it doesn't lead to overdose is you have receptors in each nerve cell to absorb marijuana or the key ingredients, cannabinoids, except in the nerve cells that regulate your heart and respiration. So you don't even have a way to process too much. It's just not even part of the physiology.
I understand. And as I said, let's say marijuana was, rat poison, okay? And it is not, of course. At the end of the day, as I said, if that's the choice you want to do with your body, and if you're able to pay the consequences, and you do not endanger anybody else, it is still your right. That's my humble opinion. Now, final thing, when it comes down to gun owners, something really bugs me a lot. That there are people that normally, they are gun owners and they enjoy marijuana. They have a medical card in Arizona, and then they will try to buy a gun and bank. The federal government said, no, you cannot pass the background check. Is this going to...
Let's talk about that for sure. In fact, that's another thing that's been in last month's news. A California appellate court upheld a 1968 ruling that cannabis was considered a dangerous drug and had to be kept away from the public. So there's a box on permit when you do a background check for getting a weapon that you have to check, I am not a user of cannabis or a drug addict, something like that. And having a medical card is considered proof of guilt. And so currently, people in the 26 states that have some sort of medical program are being prohibited from legally possessing guns. This is an outrage. I'm not a gun owner myself. After I left the military, I left weapons behind. But there's,
it's your
people
right.
have their Second Amendment rights, and we need to protect that. Our only option is going to be to continue to spread the number of states where there is a state form of legalization, whether medical or full adult use. And when we get to about 60% of the population, we'll be able to use the state pressure to force the federal government to change its ways.
Yeah, and that's why I say, gun
Sad
owners,
but true.
please have an open mind, because we got to really think out of the box. Many veterans, for example, they really had proof that, especially with post-traumatic stress, have enormous benefits with marijuana. I'm not here to be a doctor. I'm nobody, okay? But I know I have friends that all other medication couldn't do it. And sometimes, as I said, at the end of the day, I think about tomorrow. The federal government can say, all the people who drink wine or all the people who drink beer or alcohol in general, if you check the box here and you admit that, you cannot have a gun. It's exactly the same thing. Nothing different.
Yes.
Simple as that. Listen, Michael, by the way, you're running also for Congress. I would like to give you the floor the last 3 minutes. Give you your website. If you have a website for Prop 205, whatever information you can give out, I will shut up. I'll give you the floor. You're close.
Well, I appreciate that. I am indeed the Democratic nominee for Congressional District 4, which is the western half of the state. including Golden Valley, where Luca and I both live. My obviously number one issue is legalization. I helped write the ballot measure that we're discussing today. Serve as the state director of Normal. So some websites that I'd encourage people to look at is my campaign website.
Hey, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve a break. Enjoy a moment of indulgence. It's time for Zanna Coffee. Guilt-free pleasure. Zanna Coffee is the organic coffee to amplify your senses and enhance love for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Only the best organic and GMO-free coffee beans from around the world that I selected. Zanna Coffee brings you happiness in every cup. Fair trade certified, sustainable organic coffee. That means we do not use slaves. Free Zanna songs with every coffee bag. Find Zanna Coffee at www.zannacoffee.com. www.zannacoffee.com. Get your coffee bag now. Don't be cheap. Life is too short and you deserve the best. Zanna Coffee. Here we go. We are back. That was Mikel Weisser. By the way, sorry, I apologize. The audio got trunked. Something happened with the line, or at least in the recording. But let me give the website of Mikel Weisser. I don't want that, he thinks that I cut him off, okay? mikelweiser.org. www.mikelweiser.org, and of course he's running for Congress, and of course you can check him out, and also you can ask him questions about this Proposition 205. Now, one thing I would like to say about Mikel, I touched a little bit the topic about Hillary Clinton. Of course, the show, first of all, we can talk about everything we want. When I bring you on the show, yes, I give you the topic. Normally, I would like to bring you on. And in this case, the main topic was the legalization of marijuana, at least Proposition 205. But we have no boundaries. And my opinion is my opinion. Doesn't mean that you need to agree with me. If I say Hillary, she's a criminal, in my opinion, it's me talking. But what really saddened me, it is, when I still see people that, for example, I know where they were standing when was Bush in control, and I was with them, even as a former Republican. I was the first one to, let's say, at least try to expose the fascist of Bush and his New World Order following the pattern of his father and these illegal wars. But now, what really freaks me out, I'm sorry, Mikel, don't take it personal, but I'm very disappointed with you when it comes down to this one. You are a Bernie Sanders supporter, okay? And, I don't agree with you. I'm not a Bernie, I'm not a socialist, okay? But that's your belief, that's fine. And I still want you on the show. At least we have something we agree, like the legalization of marijuana. But when it comes down to admitting the Hillary, she's a corrupted, really criminal, in my opinion. And also now she's being supported by the Bush family. They will vote for her. And don't get me wrong, I'm not here to pander for Trump. But the point, very well that Hillary, she's a warmonger, she's a criminal. Forget about Benghazi, forget about the 50,000 emails, forget about that we have here an oligarchy, two families running this country, since the Clintons and the Bush and the Clinton and the Bush. I mean, how can you still pander for this woman that, by the way, she's the biggest fraud? Seriously. Why? Just because she has a donkey on her butt? I mean, that's what really freaks me out, when I see still people completely complying with the party's lines. That's sad, because I don't expect that from people like you, Mikel. I know you're a Democrat, you're running for Congress, but be honest, you know very well what this woman, she's been doing. She's a warmonger. Look at Libya. Look how they're pushing Syria. Look what they're trying to accomplish here. This is not exactly the sign piece that you put on your billboards. I mean, if you're for peace, I'm sorry, I'd rather that you do not vote at all. But you cannot support or defend a criminal like this. Can I say bitch? Yes, bitch as a female of a dog. That's what I meant. Okay? And something else. So that's all I'm saying. It's time that we need to stop to follow the orders from both parties and stand for the principles that we believe. Otherwise, really, just we become another little puppy dog. Seriously. I mean, how can you go out if you support Bernie Sanders and you know Hillary, what type of funny Wall Street monster she is, And not because Bernie Sanders is my hero, as I said, he's a socialist, funny, by the way, because he loves his cash, by the way. He cashed out after these elections. He got his money, he bought his new big house out there on the beach, okay? But that's another story. After you know what she really is, especially if you believe in peace and not in illegal wars, and only these, corporations that pretty much they're supporting the global government, and the TPP and the destruction of American jobs and sovereignty, how can you go out and defend her? Seriously, how can you do that? How can you do that? That's my point. And I hope other Democrats, I'm not saying that I have all the solutions here. I don't say that I have all the answer, but at least follow integrity. You cannot support a criminal when you know that she's a criminal, not just because she's your woman that the party is trying to impose on you. Please follow your heart, follow your soul. That's all I'm saying. Now, talking about soul, talking about heart, talking about individual liberties. The topic about the legalization of marijuana, is something that for me is very close. Even I do not smoke, I don't touch any drugs. It is not about drugs. It is not about pretty much if it's good or bad for you. It is not about medical. It is about freedom. It's about that who controls, who owns your body, you or the government. That's the bottom line. Because if the government is strong enough, powerful enough to tell you what you can drink, what you can eat, what also you can smoke, in the safety of your home or your environment, when you do not endanger or harm anybody else, when you can afford with your money, that's the government that is called fascism, if they can do that to you. So that's the point. Now, coming to another point from a different angle, seatbelt. Many of you probably wear seatbelts, and sometimes I wear them too. I wear them when I feel like it. That's the bottom line. Why? Because, after all, I'm not harming anybody else. Yes, there is the law. I need to put seatbelt. But guess what? Not because it's a law means that I need to follow it.